Hello everyone, I will analyze the Chinese TV series Empresses in the Palace through the lens of Kuisma, Korhonen's general introduction, the history-literature debate. Specifically, I will discuss how the series exemplifies the intersection of historical and literary narratives, using the melodramatic mode to reinterpret history as a deeply emotional and gendered experience. Firstly, I will introduce the series and its historical context. Then I will explore how melodrama shapes its storytelling through characters, themes, and plot lines, drawing on the key idea from Korhonen's text. Finally, I will conclude with the significance of this approach in reshaping historical memory. Empresses in the Palace is set during the Qing dynasty, focusing on Emperor Yongzheng's reign, which was in the 18th century. The series follows the journey of Zhen Huan, a young woman chosen to join the emperor's inner palace, as she navigates the treacherous world of palace politics. Historically, imperial inner palace were centers of power struggles, where women competed for emperor's favor, not only for personal survival, but secure status for their families. However, official records rarely delve into emotional lives of these women, leaving much of their stories to imagination and speculation. The series fills this gap by blending historical references with fictionalized narratives. Korhonen writes that the mental image of the past was and still is formed by both kinds of stories, history and poetry. He argues that literature allows us to reveal the typical and thus essential in human fate, while history often becomes limited to the accidental or verifiable events. Empresses in the Palace embodies this duality using melodrama to reconstruct history with a focus on emotional truth and moral clarity. Melodrama, as Korhonen might suggest, operates not only as a narrative device, but as a way to give voice to those who are marginalized from the centralized production of knowledge. The series centers the perspectives of women in the emperor's inner palace, reimagining their struggles as commentary on power, gender, and survival in a patriarchal system. Now I will move on to the plot of the Empresses in Palace to see how it reflects on Korhonen's theory. Firstly, Zhen Huan's transformation. Zhen Huan's transformation from an innocent young woman to a calculating political survivor epitomizes melodrama's focus on personal suffering as a reflection of systemic oppression. Korhonen observes that literature treats possible events to reveal the typical and thus the essential in human fate. Here, Zhen Huan's loss of innocence and moral descent highlight the harsh realities of the imperial system. Key turning points, such as her betrayal by the emperor and the death of her close friend, force her to abandon idealism and embrace pragmatism. This aligns with Korhonen's argument that narratives are made afterwards to give meaning to human struggles. Zhenhuan's journey adopts the tragic mode described by Hayden White, where characters' fates are constrained by societal forces. Ultimately, Zhenhuan's transformation critiques the patriarchal structures that demand women's emotional and moral sacrifices for survival, a truth that traditional histories often neglect. Secondly, let's look at the rivalry between Zhenhuan and consort Hua. One of the central conflicts in the series is between Zhenhuan and consort Hua, a powerful but arrogant figure who initially dominates the inner palace. Their rivalry highlights the melodramatic mode's focus on personal relationships as allegories for broader societal tensions. Consort Hua's downfall, planned secretly by Zhenhuan and her allies, is a turning point in the series. It illustrates Korhonen's idea that the past comes to us through traces and through those mental processes that form words and stories out from those traces. Hence, the story reimagines history not as dry political events, but as emotionally charged struggle for justice and survival. Thirdly, I'd like to talk about the themes of sacrifice and loss. The series also uses melodrama to explore themes of sacrifice and loss. For instance, Zhenhuan's forced separation from her family and her eventually betrayal by the emperor, whom she once loved, underscore the emotional cost of her ascent. Those moments resonate with Korhonen's assertion that literature can capture the hidden experiences and the structures of everyday life, that traditional history. So, Korhonen observes that narratives rely on archetypal versions of the world, such as tragedy, comedy, or romance, to give shape to events. Empresses in the palace uses melodrama to emphasize the human consequences of historical systems, portraying the Qing palace as both a physical and emotional battleground. The series also highlights the agency of its female characters, who navigate a patriarchal system through wit, resilience, and alignance. In doing so, it challenges traditional historiography, which often marginalizes women's contribution to history. Now, I will highlight the significance of this series to Korhonen's text. By blending historical facts with literary invention, Empresses in the Palace exemplifies Korhonen's argument that we need both history and literature to deal with our own temporality and finitude. The series reshapes the past into an emotionally engaging narrative, inviting viewers to reflect on moral and societal dynamics of power. This approach not only enriches our understanding of history, but also emphasizes the importance of storytelling in shaping cultural memory. As Korhonen notes, the world itself is not inherently tragic, comic, or romantic. Yet, through melodramatic mode, Empresses in the Palace transforms the past, into a space of meaning and resonance. In conclusion, Empresses in the Palace demonstrates how melodrama serves as a powerful tool to reimagine history. Through its complex characters, emotional depth, and archetypal narratives, it bridges the gap between historical accuracy and literary invention. Thank you for your listening.